Allison on the road today. You're in an undisclosed location, coming to us from a not so well lit room, but we're here, episode number 2 of the unnamed PBR Iowa podcast. Rob, how are you?
Really good. Really good. Thank you for pointing out my below average hotel accommodations. That's awesome.
I just would figure Prep Baseball Report would spring for this mobile studio that you could have, right? With all the lights and the makeup people and the hair and all that stuff, right?
Well, running water, internet, we're just kind of baby stepping our way through the process.
So you're somewhere in the middle of God's country, is that correct?
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you saw some pretty good T-shirts this morning.
yes. Yes, I am definitely going to have to find a couple of those. Little baseball player was running around, T-shirt, outline of the state of Iowa on his chest. Above it, it says, "Is this heaven?" Pretty tight. Pretty tight. Yeah.
It's funny. That's one of the names of the podcast we came up with, right?
Maybe it's a sign. I don't know.
I think that's probably right. Well, while we have you, let's jump into the class of 2025. So last week we talked 2024s. Now the 2025s get their time. Rob, talk a little bit about the big picture of the 2025s.
Yeah. We've really revamped kind of what we're doing from a rankings perspective, and part of it plays out with the new recruiting rules and how those have changed since back in April. I think it becomes more imperative now to make sure that we're doing that much more in regards to getting kids' names out there and kind of positioning them from a rankings perspective. Obviously, the nice thing about rankings, they're always going to be fluid. There's guys going to be moving up. There's guys that will kind of concrete themselves in a certain spot, but you'll have guys moving up, guys moving down. But so this is for sure the most expansive list of 2025s, or I should say sophomores, that we've done in the 8 years of PBR Iowa. So it's really deep class. But like with most sophomores, like there's a lot of question marks. Like guys are still really developing physically. Their games are still translating on the field and kind of what direction or trajectory they have. But I think right now we have a really good snapshot of that class, and it's just going to continue to build and grow.
So right now your list is standing at 50. You have one committed player. Dive in a little bit. Talk about a couple of these top or highly thought of prospects that you have on the list.
Yeah, Milo Kelly is the number one player in the class. Super athletic kid, committed to Missouri last spring, I believe, and plays at Davenport Central. He also, to get in a little extra baseball or take advantage of some opportunities, he does some club team stuff on the weekends and at other various points in the summer. So I know our national guys got a really good look at him down at the NPI down at Lake Point this last week, and he performed really well behind the plate. He'll get on the mound and run at mid to upper 80s with really good feel for the zone. Just all around, he's a really good baseball player. He's a really good athlete, and so I'm glad he got in front of our national guys and was able to show them kind of what he can do. I think that was a good thing. Tatum Gray has always been a big guy for me. I got to see him not only through the entire spring, but got to see him a couple weeks ago playing for Dallas Center Grimes. Strong, athletic, swings it really well from both sides of the plate, has a ton of versatility across the field. Just really higher end baseball player. Everyone talks about either being a good baseball player or on the flip side, having like really good tools. I think right now he has like a really good marriage of both. The data is really good on him. The tools are well above average, and he also performs in games. And so I think that makes him really interesting. And, a guy that kind of popped up on the scene last year as a freshman, A guy that we had at the preseason All State and now is having a really, really good summer is Will Nuss from Johnston. And he started for Johnston as a freshman last year. I mean, that's just craziness. I think the last freshman that started for them was Peyton Williams, who obviously had a great career at Iowa and is now in organized baseball. I think he's with the Blue Jays, but already has 5 home runs. Really athletic again, can move around the field, can play third, second, center field. Um, I like him. He's really interesting because when you see him, he almost looks a little plain Jane. Um, there's nothing really flashy to what he does, um, but it's just all really concise, and he performs at a really high level. And I think he has a lot of upside.
Well, you heard it here first. William Nuss is going to play pro ball based on the transitive property that you listed there, right? So we'll
Yeah.
look forward to that part of it. Uh, so we talked about so 3 guys that you're like, hey, these guys are dudes. They stand out. They're big time. Who on this list, maybe towards the top now, was somebody that you've seen before, jumped up or made some impression on you that rised up a little bit?
Yeah. Sam Kemmer from Johnston continues to be an interesting guy for me. I think his carrying tool is his arm, but he's also physical and has some pop in the bat. You know, he's a guy that you're going to have to continue to drill down into and try to figure out a little bit to see kind of what his projection is and where he's going to land at the end of the day. But he's really interesting. I was really surprised with Brady Kaufman. We have him ranked relatively high, and it was based on his ability to pitch because ultimately that's really all we saw last year and into this year. I
Mhm.
mean, he's big, strong freshman running it up to 87. And so that's kind of what it was keyed on a lot. He's really transformed physically and his abilities on the field, and he has like real hitting ability. Got to see him playing for Grinnell. Right now, just kind of out of default and what they have for bodies, he's having to catch for them. And I don't think that's his long term position. But he's thinned out. His frame is kind of elongated, and the bat's really good. Like he scraps it up in the box, drives balls well. Um, pleasantly surprised with that. Um, Lance Ludens is a guy that really caught my attention in a game. Smaller guy, athletic, high energy, all over the field. Mediapolis kid. He really just directed traffic, and that I haven't seen a lot of that actually this summer of just kind of that quarterback out on the field telling everybody where to go, getting his teammates in the right position, making the plays for himself. So I really like that. And then kind of an under the radar guy, Wrigley Mathis, outfielder for Bettendorf. Smaller guy, really athletic. Again, kind of just a gritty lead off dirt bag. Lenny Dykstra,
Ooh,
hopefully with a lot less extracurricular activities later on in life. But like right now, he's hitting 517 on the year, doing what he needs to do to help them win baseball games. He's a really good player as well.
I know it's difficult to kind of judge classes between each other, but where would you put this 2025 class as, at the stage it's at now? How would you say that they are compared to like some of the junior seniors right now?
Um, I think more of just from a maturity aspect. I think the jury's still out on the 2025 class. I would say give it another 3 months, 6 months. I think the class could really take off and be really exciting. Or they just kind of settle down and it is kind of what it is. You don't have near as many changes. So I guess time will tell time will tell with that class, but I do have high expectations, and I do think there's a lot of really good players.
Well, these kids right now, a lot of them probably are playing on their high school teams. What's new around the Corn Belt High School League going on right now?
Oh, there really is. There was some big excitement. Keaton Wynn from Pekin High School here in Iowa just made his big league debut the other night for the Giants. Came in, got the save. A cool little side note. He was telling them that was actually the first major league stadium he's ever been to, and that was him walking in and making his appearance. He'd never been to Busch Stadium. He'd never been as a kid, any of that stuff. And Pekin's a nice town, but Parker, it is a one horse town.
It
Like
doesn't
it
have
is.
a two deck stadium or anything like that, right?
No, no. If Pekin has a Casey's, they're doing really well for themselves.
Yeah,
Um, but very small town, ag community, and when, played in high school, went to Iowa Western, was committed to go to Mississippi State, bypassed that to sign with the Giants, makes it to the big leagues. Like, pretty sweet. Pretty sweet.
that's a pretty good path for the young man, and yeah, we'll see him probably pitching some more. He didn't do the Steve Nebraska thing when he got out to the professional stadium, right? I know I'm dating myself on those references. The kids probably have not seen the Scout, but Steve
Right.
Nebraska, yeah, look that up.
Well, to branch off of that, there's an original movie called The Scout with Edward James Olmos.
Okay, yes, yes.
And so that actually I thought was a really good movie. And then when I saw the one with Brendan Fraser, I about wanted to puke in my mouth. Um, so look it up. Google, YouTube, The Scout, Edward James Olmos.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. I
If
think
you're a baseball, you
he was
need
an
to see that.
Angels.
Uh huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't say
Uh,
anything more, then you're going to ruin the movie for everybody.
so a few weeks into the high school season and all that stuff, right? I mean, we've got obviously, the arms are starting to work a little bit. You're starting to see some pitching. How's that going from your perspective?
Um, Pitching right now to me, at least with some of the games I've been to, it's starting to look a little tired. Um, you know, I guess I'm not gonna I'm not gonna sit on top of the mountain and like preach and everything else, but I think coaches need to be a little more attentive to pitch counts, and it's not as much the pitch counts, but it's like what your pitchers are doing on their off days. What their kind of like rehab program is, to go from one start to the next start. And it's really hard because we have a compacted schedule. They're playing a lot of games on top of each other. 99% of high school kids are two-way guys, and once they leave the mound, they're going out to a position. So I know all those things are really hard to keep your thumb on, but you and I have kind of jokingly, seriously said, the pitch count rules, they're not a goal, right? They're not a goal. They're there to try to keep some handcuffs on coaches and kids and try to keep their health in perspective. And it just right now it's a little tough sledding with some of the guys that I've seen out on the mound because you can just see they're dragging butt a little bit. You know, their throwing is starting to catch up to them. They're trying to catch their breath. They're trying to recharge their battery, and I'm not quite sure if they're always afforded that opportunity. So,
Yeah, I mean, you can imagine pitcher's on the mound, throws his 105, goes back to shortstop the next day. He makes a ton of throws. Practice the next day, probably taking IO, doing more throwing. Yeah, that's wear and tear. You just got to be mindful of what's happening with your arms out there. These are young guys with careers ahead of them, hopefully in college and beyond, right?
absolutely. Yep.
You got any last words of wisdom before we move on for the day?
I've kind of been here, there, and everywhere across the state. Right now, I'm in beautiful Council Bluffs, Omaha. College World Series is getting ready to start tomorrow. I get the opportunity to be out here with my 13-year-old son. Go Wilton Beaver, 13U, double A, U triple SA baseball. Um, so I get to be around them and help coach and enjoy the experience out here. Majority of these kids have never been to Omaha. They've never been to the College World Series. So we're going to take them out to a game tomorrow night. It should be really fun. I'm excited about it.
You need to shout out the wing spot in Council Bluffs that we went to last spring. That was great.
Salty Dog.
The Salty Dog. Those
If you're
were
coming
fan.
into the if you're coming into the CB Omaha area, whatever the event may be, stop at the Salty Dog, Council Bluffs, Iowa. Really good wings,
What,
and
what was the deal?
they serve tater tots.
What was it that they did? They had the charbroiled. They did some extra step. They went an extra mile on their wings.
Yeah, they char them on the grill. It's a game changer.
Yeah, yeah. Another reason to visit Iowa if you needed another one.
How do you know Parker is from Minnesota without asking him that he's from Minnesota? Is when he orders wings with blue cheese on the side. One of the worst decisions I've ever seen.
Oh,
Disgust,
come on.
disgusted.
We try to get dairy into our bodies any way you can. The cheese, that's just the wing is a delivery mechanism for the cheese. Yes.
Disgusting.
All right, we'll fight over that one in a whole nother podcast. Anything else you want to shout out here? We got state games coming up, correct?
Absolutely. Getting through the summer, getting everything in order. I'm really excited about the state games in August. Players, we've sent out a lot of invites. We're looking at a lot of coaches being there over those 2 days. I know it's busy. Everyone's running around like crazy, fighting for wins, fighting for surviving the day. Got your invite? Get registered. Let's get ready to roll. State games is where it's going to be at in August. It's going to be a big deal.
All right, and then hey, rankings might change after that whole thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Once we get through the summer with all the game action, get through our events in August, revamp the rankings, wash, rinse, and repeat. You know,
All right.
we got this stuff on lockdown. It's it's become pretty concise and organized through the years, and yeah, we'll be ready to rock and roll.
All right, Rob, I'll let you run over to Casey's, get your sunflower seeds and whatever beverage you choose before the game. On the road today, you're in an undisclosed location.